Joining us now is Nadhim Zahawi, the former Conservative Chancellor, now a member of Reform UK. Good morning.
Good morning, Kate.
How does this by-election serve the voters of Clacton?
Well, I think Nigel's statement was very clear that what is happening is an establishment pile-on and a stitch-up, and he wants to take that decision away from the establishment and place it in the hands of the people that put him in Parliament, which are the people of Clacton. And I think that is the right decision. It's also the right decision to offer to pay for the by-election. Look, people will continue to attack Nigel. Why? Because the comfort zone of the establishment is being breached, because reform will fix broken Britain. Reform will deal with... We've got 200,000 men of fighting age living amongst us with no documentation, very little known about their backgrounds other than they've come from war zones around the world.
And those things...
And we're not dealing with that. Instead, we're attacking...
And you know
Nigel
what?
Farage.
Those things are really important, and I'm sure the voters of Clacton care deeply about them. So I go back to my question. How does this by-election serve those people in Clacton?
Because it will allow them to have a voice. The people of Clacton will speak for the whole nation, because I think Nigel would win against a Conservative candidate, a Labour candidate, a Lib Dem candidate. They've all been fripped. I watched this morning Kemi Badenoch have a car crash interview because she couldn't say why she's not putting up a candidate, allowing people who want to vote for her party a choice. And then she says, hold on a second, let me just finish this point. And then she says, oh, we'll put a candidate in the real by-election, but then admits that there may not be another by-election in Clacton.
But again, that's not about the people of Clacton. That's about the Conservative Party. And actually, the voters of Clacton, they don't speak for the country. They speak for themselves. And they, in fact, already have spoken for themselves.
Yes,
and they voted for Nigel Farage.
And the speech yesterday... To be able to essentially, I hope, return Nigel, because they can see that the deep state, the establishment, are trying to take Nigel out because they are so frightened of what we will do.
But it isn't the deep state that's taken Nigel out. Nigel Farage has resigned himself. No one's taken him out.
Oh, hold on a second. Kate, now you're being completely disingenuous and cynical. The deep state is after Nigel. There are leaks, illegal leaks from parts of government, and you know that, right? That is all happening. Why? Because Nigel threatens the status quo. That is why. So that is happening, and Nigel is a fighter. He's taking his message, his party, to the country, and the way you do that in our democracy is you go to your constituency, and your constituents will speak for themselves and for the rest of the nation that they want Nigel to be in Parliament. They want Nigel to be Prime Minister.
He already is in Parliament. He's not been thrown out. He's thrown himself out. So what's the point?
There is a conspiracy against Nigel and against reform to keep reform out. Dominic Cummings said it a few months ago.
Keep reform out of what? Nigel Farage is an MP.
Nigel Farage forming the government.
Hold on.
Forming the next government.
Just one second. Nigel Farage is an elected MP right now. He's already been elected as an MP. He's not been thrown out of Parliament. He's not been removed from Parliament. So what's the point in asking his constituents to vote him back in again? Where does it take him that's different to where he is now?
Because by taking his message to the country, to his constituents, and allowing them to have that choice, whether to back him or sack him, right, will be a very, you know this, right? It'd be a very powerful endorsement that Nigel is the right person to lead the country, to fix the country. There's so many things that are broken about our country. I can sit here and speak to you for hours.
So why doesn't he focus on those? Why doesn't he focus on those things? Because he knows.
Exactly, he knows. No.
He knows right now.
Stop it, Kate. You know what you're saying, right? You know that actually what is happening is a deep state conspiracy to take Nigel down.
What does that mean?
And the way you stop that,
what does that mean?
It means
let's
illegal
talk.
hacking. It means leaks of his personal personal information. It means part of the state actually deliberately behaving illegally and actually releasing information about Nigel, about Richard Tice and others in our party to take them down because they feel so threatened by what is about to come, which is a reform government. That is what it means.
Who do you think is controlling? Who's controlling the deep state?
I don't know, Kate, but you know that there's been illegal hacking and some of this information being obtained.
Are you talking about Russia? You're talking about Russia.
Well, look, we've put our case forward and to the authorities, and they should investigate. The police should investigate, as Richard Tice said yesterday, who leaked the National Crime Agency stuff, right? What is going on in our country? Why are they trying to take Nigel out of politics? He will not leave.
Okay, but
he will
once
not
again,
go away, and he will fight, and he will win. And the other parties are scared because they know
Nadhim Zahawi,
if they stand against him in this by-election or any other by-election.
Can we take the tone down a little?
Of course.
Because I think ultimately you're talking about credibility, and you keep saying that they're taking him out. I mean, Nigel Farage has taken himself out. I suppose the question here for lots of people will be, will this really reinforce his credibility and give him the mandate you're talking about if all the main parties completely ignore this by-election and ultimately he's running against a man with a bin on his head?
Well, all I can say to you is people I've spoken to, and you know I founded a polling company about 26 years ago. People are basically saying, look, clearly the other parties are scared. They know he will crush them in a democratic vote, which is why they've pulled out.
But that didn't happen in Makerfield.
Kemi had no response. And we did incredibly well in the local elections in Makerfield. The by-election was very much thought about. The message was get Keir Starmer out. Andy Burnham told us he's going to get Keir Starmer out. We're getting Starmer Mark II. He's giving up the Chagos Islands and paying billions
but
to the
Nadhim
Mauritians.
Zahawi, you keep, every time we come to a point, you switch to something else. So you say...
You asked me about Makerfield, and I'm answering you about Makerfield.
I asked you about credibility in this election. Is the truth here that actually Nigel Farage is seeking to avoid accountability? I mean, you mentioned YouGov, and you yourself, you've been a politician, you understand scrutiny, you actually ran into some difficulty yourself, and you held your hands up and you said, you know what, I probably didn't do this in the way that I should have done. That scrutiny is fair enough, and I'm sorry about it. Nigel Farage is facing 2 investigations here by the Parliamentary Standards Commissioner, and there is a feeling that he is seeking to avoid that accountability. Are you comfortable with that?
Let me tell you why I am comfortable he's done the right thing. One is that Nigel has said many, many times, and he's had legal advice, that he's done nothing wrong to accept a private, personal, unconditional gift from Christopher Harbourne. The second reason is whether it is stitch-up or let's go along with you, right, with your argument. It isn't a conspiracy against Nigel. It isn't an establishment pile-on against Nigel. It's just cock-up, right? The parliamentary investigation, because of whatever reason they may offer, will go on for months and months. And it is literally, it says that the Member of Parliament can't talk about it and therefore can't say anything about it, yet at the same time gets attacked daily on social media, on Times Radio and elsewhere in the media.
But hold on, scrutiny isn't attack.
No, hold on a second.
You went through this process.
That's not scrutiny. That is, in my view, an unfair and rigged system
that's your
against
view.
the politician.
You went through
Nigel
this process yourself. You understand accountability. You understand the questions that politicians are asked of them. Why does Nigel Farage think that he's different here?
He doesn't think he's different. I wish I had the opportunity to be able to be as brave as Nigel and to say, you know what, I am going to go to my constituents because they are the people who put me in Parliament and they will decide this. he's doing the right thing, because otherwise the conspiracy is that the establishment says, oh, well, you can't say anything. You're going to have to wait till the investigation is over. It could be September, it could be October, whenever it concludes, right? And it is literally attack daily. You know that the system, Dominic Cummings talked about this, right? The system will find ways, illegal ways, to try and take Nigel on, because they're so frightened of what reform will do to fix the country. They like the status quo. They like the uni-parties. They like having Kemi. They like having even Andy Burnham. Why? Because they are people from within the establishment.
Nadhim Zahawi, just finally, do you believe in a free press?
Yes, of course, absolutely, I do. And I'm by the way, I Paul Dacre and I go back a long way, and we know each other well. I thought actually his statement was incredibly powerful yesterday, and it was the right thing and the right outcome at the end of the day. And I think Doreen Lawrence made a terrible error of judgment to go along with this after what Paul Dacre did to stand by her.
Nadhim Zahawi, thank you very much for your time on the programme this morning. That is the former Conservative Chancellor and now a member of Reform UK.